What's going on, everybody? It is Saturday Eve, and you know what that means. Only one more day until we finally get to see the Texas Longhorns back in action, coming off a very tough loss at the Red River rivalry by the hands of the Oklahoma Sooners. It's been 2 weeks since we got to see this team step back on the field, much to the dismay of us as fans because we always want to see this team play. But nevertheless, here they are, getting ready to go on the road to play the University of Houston at Houston. This could be an interesting game. Now, at surface level, I get it that this game does not really look like there's anything to it. The Houston Cougars are coming into this game 3-3. Not a very good team overall. They're middle of the road offensively overall. They're very, very bad defensively overall, and they've had a really shaky start to this season. However, there's a couple of things that we have to consider Texas as a program heading into this game. The two most important positions, if you want to call them that, in this game are currently being occupied by people who have had experience beating Texas in previous seasons. Who are these people? Most importantly, number one, head coach Dana Holgorsen. He is in his second or third season, I believe, with Houston now, coming over from West Virginia. He has a ton of experience playing Texas, especially playing Texas at home. Handed Texas a few L's over his coaching career at West Virginia, right? And the second most important person that we have to consider, Donovan Smith. Now, why is he important? Number one, he is the Houston quarterback, right? Playing some really, really good football right now. He's on a stretch where he's gone throwing 9 touchdowns to 0 interceptions. He's 13 touchdowns and 3 interceptions on the year with over 65% accuracy. He is also a transfer on this Houston team. But this one, in my opinion, is really important because Donovan Smith was the quarterback of the Texas Tech team that handed Texas the loss in overtime last season. That is something that's really important for us to know. Why? Because he knows what it takes to beat the Texas Longhorns. This team today is drastically different and much more improved than the team that he saw last year. Make no mistake, his experience in this game is going to be a vital factor for the Houston offense if they hope to get any kind of traction against this Texas defense. Furthermore, this is going to be the first time that Texas and Houston are playing since 2002, and Texas is on a 7-game win streak in this series. Houston is going to be coming out looking to throw haymakers, wanting to get up early, so that way they have a real potential chance of upsetting Texas. We know that Houston is going to be throwing the house and the kitchen sink at Texas this week. This very well may be the last game that head coach Dana Holgorsen coaches for the Houston Cougars, depending on the severity of the ass whooping. An ass whooping is going to ensue. Texas is coming off a heartbreaking loss to a bitter rival in one of the biggest games of the college football season period, but especially of the Texas football season, against the Oklahoma Sooners. From what I've heard, that team was pissed off and wanted to go play last week. They were ready to get back on the field. Any great competitor, losing is the absolute worst thing. It doesn't matter how you lose. It doesn't matter if you played your ass off. It doesn't matter if you had the game of your life. If you came away with an L, it leaves the most bitter taste in your mouth, and the only thing that can satiate that desire is getting back on the field and putting helmet in chest and laying the damn lumber. I am expecting Texas to come into this game with some emphasis on being physical, with emphasis on starting fast, like what Steve Sarkisian says, all gas, no brakes. I want Texas to come out and stomp on Houston's necks and never give them a chance to breathe. That's what they got to do. Set the tone early, and I think that we can have a really successful game. With that being said, let's go ahead and get into some key matchups that we're going to need to look at and really keep an eye on come Saturday. First things first, the Houston offense versus the Texas defense. This is going to be the most important part of the game. We know that our offense can put up points. Texas's offense is going to score. They're going to put up yards. They're going to make big plays. They have all of the big playmakers on that side of the ball. Where we have struggled is on the back end of the defense. Not in the run game, in the pass game. And what does Houston love to do? They love to air it out. Why? Because they can't get the run game established. They're averaging 134 yards rushing a game, which is something like 97th in the country. Like I mentioned earlier, the thing that we have to take into account is the fact that Donovan Smith is playing the best football of his life right now. His left tackle is a very, very good player. probably a Sunday ready player. Interior line, the centers and the guards, they're decent, but they're absolutely beatable. The one weakness that this offensive line really has is at right tackle, and man, their right tackle is very, very bad. The right side of their offensive line is extremely vulnerable. We're gonna need our outside edge rushers to have huge games. I wouldn't be surprised to see Anthony Hill put on the edge, because his speed and physicality off the edge against that right tackle is going to be a nightmare for Donovan Smith and Houston's offense. The only way that offense can be successful is if Donovan Smith can get time in the pocket. He is 6'5", he's 230 pounds. The man is built like Cam Newton. He's a big physical presence, like that kind of body, and he is not afraid to stand in the pocket while the pocket is collapsing around him and just scan over the O-line, scan the field, and get the ball out of his hands. He has gotten way better at stepping up in the pocket, standing there, letting the pocket collapse around him, and still delivering the ball downfield. He is still a threat to get out of the pocket and run. He definitely has the ability to do damage if you let him get comfortable back there in the pocket. So it is going to be imperative that the Texas defense gets some pressure on him. And I'm not saying it's going to be easy. Again, Donovan Smith on the year is completing over 66% of his passes. He's got 1,600 yards, 13 touchdowns, and 3 interceptions. He's coming off a game against West Virginia where he completed almost 80% of his passes. He had 300 yards passing and 4 touchdowns to no interceptions. He's playing mistake-free and turnover-free football for Houston, which is giving them chances to be in these games late. In order for Donovan Smith to be successful, he's got to have some targets to be able to get the ball to, right? Their wide receiver core is pretty solid. Samuel Brown, transfer again, another transfer from West Virginia. He is the leading receiver on the team right now with 549 receiving yards. He's had 100-yard performances already on the season. Well, technically 2, but one of those was a 99-yard receiving performance, so I went ahead and tallied that as a 100-yard game. That's close enough for me. Another one to pay attention to, big physical wide receiver, the transfer from USC, Joseph Manjack IV. He's 6'3", he's 200 pounds, and while he's not a burner, he's a big physical presence on the field. He's got very soft hands. He is second on the team right now with 347 receiving yards, so he's going to be somebody that Texas is going to have to account for. The other receiver that they're going to have to account for, and probably the most explosive and really under the radar receiver that they have right now, is Matthew Golden. Now, while he has not been a huge playmaker on the offensive side of the ball, in the pass game, he does have explosive big play ability. He has the ability to take the top off the defense. Now, where he is really going to be effective is in the return game. And if you give him an opportunity to return the ball in the return game, he is going to do some damage. So it'll be interesting to see on our side whether we even allow him the opportunity to have the ball in his hands and make a big play. And last but not least, third or fourth wide receiver at this point, Stephon Johnson. He is the wide receiver who caught the Hail Mary last week against West Virginia that put Houston over the top 41-39 in the final seconds of the game. He's another big play, dynamic threat down the field. I think that Samuel Brown and Joseph Manjack are the two obvious targets on that offense. The other two are more low-key, but still very explosive players that Texas is going to have to keep an eye on. Where Texas has the advantage, obviously, is on the line of scrimmage. Their front 5 against our front 7, I'm sorry, it's not really going to be much of a matchup. Between Tavondre Sweat and Byron Murphy, I expect that the run game is going to be shored up. Our linebackers are going to be able to be aggressive in the run game. They're actually going to be able to be more aggressive, in my opinion, in the pass game, dropping back into pass lanes, because Houston is just not a very good run team. They're the type of running backs where if a lane is open, they will hit that lane and they will hit it quickly and they will get upfield as fast as they can. Now, if they get into the open field, they have big playability. They are fast. They're more like track guys. But as far as in and out of tackles in between at the line of scrimmage, I just don't see them having much success in the running game. It is going to be imperative for Texas to shut down the run game early and force Houston to be a one-dimensional team. If I'm Dana Holgorsen, the number one thing that I've worked into this game plan against the Texas defense, the design quarterback run. Whether we're running draws, whether we're running QB reads, triple options, doesn't matter. I saw against Kansas, I saw against Oklahoma, and even against Rice a couple times. Getting the quarterback run game established, getting option game established can give Texas and PK some real problems. We saw Dillon Gabriel had the most rushing yards of his entire career in the Texas OU game, 114 yards on the ground. Donovan Smith, while he may not be as fast as Dillon Gabriel, he's definitely as capable of a runner. He's way more physical of a runner. He's way bigger, he's way stronger, and he fights for yards after contact. That real big Cam Newton type body, he uses it. He knows he's big and he uses it to his advantage. There's one thing that Dana Holgorsen has seen over the last couple weeks is that the quarterback run game can hurt Texas. He's going to be trying to exploit that in many different ways, and we've got to be prepared for that. With all that being said, in my opinion, one thing, the most important thing that I would like to see Texas do is be able to put their corners and their secondary in one-on-one coverage, bring the blitz, and let those guys go get after it. Let them play good on good and beat their one-on-one matchups. That's what I would love to see. This should be a game where we get to see some of these really skilled cover guys that we've been hearing about all season long but haven't really been able to see. We should be able to see these guys play one-on-one matchups against inferior talent and win those matchups. I want to see that kind of aggressiveness and assertiveness out of this Texas defense. I want to see this team come out and really take pride in the fact that they have to win their one-on-ones. They have to be better one-on-one, and that they have the ability to win one-on-one. Going man coverage means that down the field you're going to be turning your back to Donovan Smith, but I truly just don't believe that this Houston offense has what it takes to beat Texas's defense in any capacity. So I want to see us be aggressive. You're going to be facing inferior talent over the next 6 weeks. And this is the time where we can really get some of these young guys exponential experience in these games. Who wants to be a dog? Who wants to shut down their side of the field? Now, what I am expecting, of course, is that our second team All-Americans in Tavondre Sweat and in Byron Murphy and the rest of that D-line getting in there and getting after the damn quarterback. I want to see us sack the fucking quarterback. I am tired of watching us run up the field, get out of our pass lanes, and allowing the quarterback to escape the pocket and make big plays down the field. I want to see Donovan Smith sacked at least 5 times. I think Texas has a huge advantage at the line of scrimmage. I expect to see Anthony Hill show out. I expect to see Jalen Ford get back to his All-American ways. He had a terrible game against Oklahoma. And you got to expect that someone like him, someone like Jahdae Barron, who also didn't have a very great game against OU, they're going to come out with a bitter taste in their mouth, and they're going to want to come and punch Houston right in the teeth. Moving on, now that we've talked about the defense and what we think Houston is going to do to exploit them, now we get to the really fun part. And before we even get to really talking about the Texas offense against the Houston defense, I'm just going to take a minute. Jonathan Brooks, mid-season, first team All-American. Who the hell would have seen that coming? All offseason long, all the talk about was how are we going to replace the production of Roschon Johnson and Bijan Robinson. You have somebody like Jonathan Brooks, who, as talented as he is, was never offered shit out of high school. He had one offer to Sam Houston State before he was offered by Texas. He sat behind Bijan and Rojo for 2 years. As talented as he was, never got to display that talent really. We saw flashes. Now, when he would get in the game, every time he touched the ball, it seemed like he was breaking off a 40, 50-yard touchdown run. But we just chalked that up to trash time, to garbage time, when the game is already in hands. Jonathan Brooks is getting the ball and, doing damage against an already worn down defense. Fast forward to this year, he comes in, he's not even the starter to begin the season. CJ Baxter gets hurt, gives Jonathan Brooks the opportunity to be that bell cow and that workhorse, and holy shit has he run away with it. I think he's leading the country right now. Who would have saw that coming? Who would have seen Jonathan Brooks being the leading rusher across the entire country for Texas coming into this season? That's coming from somebody who I loved Jonathan Brooks. I can recount all the times I watched Jonathan Brooks. I watched his high school highlight films so often because I thought, man, he doesn't really look like he's moving fast on the field, but he's breaking away from everybody. He pulls away. Every single time he touches the ball, he's running for 60, 70 yards. And even when he would get in the game in late games, it's like, bro, every time this kid touches the ball, he's breaking away. I was so happy to see Jonathan Brooks get an opportunity to play this season. And when CJ Baxter came in and took over, I thought, damn, CJ Baxter must be a freaking dog if he's taking over JB's spot. It's just that JB he wasn't doing some of the things right in practice, right? And so CJ Baxter got the look over him. When he gets an opportunity to get in game, he showed absolutely and without a doubt that he is the best running back on this Texas roster right now, and that he gives us the best chance in the running game to go and dominate and establish the ground game every single week. Hats off to you, my man. As a midseason All-American, I can only imagine what you're going to do over the next 6 weeks against teams that are, the running game is, the ground attack is going to be favorable towards us. It's going to be a fun next 6 weeks, big dog. That's all I'm going to say. You're going to have a lot of big Steppo awards coming towards you. I know that's for sure. I just want to acknowledge Jonathan Brooks as a midseason All-American. Congrats to you, my guy. We get to talk about how Texas has an advantage over the Houston defense. It's in pretty much every way. It is going to be a nightmare for the Cougars out there defensively. They have a poor pass rush. They have an elementary secondary. They have a corner. One of their best corners is 5'8" and 125 pounds, soaking wet with the thickest towel you can find. The other one is a twitchy, aggressive corner who can make some big plays but gets beat all the time. Their safeties are no good. They're soft. They can't tackle. They can't get any penetration on that D-line. They have one defensive lineman. I believe he's number 9. He's decent, right? He's got some good get off, blockable, but he's decent. You know, he's probably the bright spot. Their linebackers are absolutely deplorable. They really should be de-scholarshiped. I couldn't feel comfortable as if I was Dana Holgorsen giving my scholarship to players who are this soft. He's got a real problem on his hands. Now, this may be Dana Holgorsen's last game as a Houston Cougars head coach, but not all of it is his fault. You can't do anything when your players are soft as baby shit. So what am I expecting to see? Honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if Texas puts up over 600 and 650 yards in this game. A 300-yard passing game would be easy. I don't even think Quinn needs to throw for 300 yards, right? I think he can be so efficient that he throws for 250 to 275 with 3 to 4 touchdowns and it's no problem. I think Jonathan Brooks can easily have a 150 to 200 yard rushing game. I mean, easily. When you go back and you watch the Houston and West Virginia game, first off, West Virginia put up over 200 on the ground and over 300 in the air. And this is not a very good West Virginia offense. Their quarterback is okay. He's a decent dual threat playmaker, but he ain't Quinn Ewers. And those receivers that they got ain't A.D. Mitchell. They ain't Xavier Worthy. They ain't Jonte Cook or Jay Witt. I'll tell you that much. They ain't got a J.T. Sanders at tight end. Goodness gracious. This is going to be the best offensive line. This is going to be the best team Houston has faced by far and away. It's not even close. I think the size and the physicality and just the overall talent of this Texas team is really going to overwhelm Houston, and we're going to get on them early. I would expect at least one 100-yard receiver in this game, at least one 100-yard rusher. It could get really, really ugly for this Houston team. If I'm Steve Sarkisian and I'm Texas, coming off a loss like we came off of against Oklahoma, where we were decent in the run game but not great. We were great in the pass game for the most part outside of the 2 picks, right? I want to see us come in and be prepared and go fucking dominate this Houston team. I want to see Steve come in with a game plan to assert our physical dominance and to impose our will on Houston early and just get that team to crack. I want the defense to crack in the first half, right? Rice put up 28 points on this team in the first half, 21 in the first quarter. Now, I know every game is different, and that's not to say that we should put up 40 points on them in the first half, even though we probably should. That's how much better we are offensively than they are defensively. I at least want to see us come in and just dominate them from start to finish. Be a complete team for a complete 60 minutes. Through and through, go dominate this game. And I honestly think that we will do that. I don't think that there's any way that Houston can really stop Texas. Even with blitzes, their players are just too soft. They're just too soft in my opinion. I'm going to go out on a limb here. I'm going to say I know that Texas is coming into this game as a 22.5 point favorite. Even though Houston is at home, I want to say that Texas is going to blow this game out of the water. They're going to make Donovan Smith make really bad decisions. Probably get a couple of special teams. Maybe we get a kick return touchdown. Who knows? I think we have some plays in the special teams that also probably bolster the score. But I think we come out of this unscathed and really, honestly, pretty happy with what we see. I'm calling Texas winning this game 52-10. Dana Holgorsen may be looking for another job after the end of Saturday. If you made it to this point in the video, do me a favor, please subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Hit the thumbs up on the video. Turn on those notification bells so you never miss an episode, never miss anything that we have coming for you here on the show. Because remember, no matter where you look, there's no better place than Mo Better Sports for your latest football takes. I am Mr. Mo Better, and I am out. Peace.